Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. I'm Josh, and today we're going to be talking about the all-new Tacoma, but before we get there, I want to do a brief history lesson, so let's go back to exactly 10 years ago at this time in 2014, when I was a much younger and much thinner single college graduate who wanted a new car and thus bought a brand new 2014 Tacoma SR5 Pre-Runner V6. And it wasn't anything special, but I absolutely loved it because I've always loved trucks, and it had my beloved 1GR V6, and although there were a lot of things that I didn't care for about it, it was a great truck, and I was willing to overlook some of its shortcomings because I was able to negotiate the price down to $25,000. And for that price, I was able to buy it in cash. I drove it for about a year and a half, and I even actually ended up selling it for more than I paid for it when I was ready to get rid of it. But that aside, the one truth about the world is that the Tacoma was always one of the cheapest forms of transportation that you could get. And so a base model Tacoma SR, or whatever the work truck was called, was about $18,000, which at the time made it about the same price, if not even cheaper, than your base model Honda Civic or Toyota Corolla. And even the most expensive Tacoma at the time, with four-wheel drive and the upgraded interior and the probably bigger screen with navigation and JBL and some of the nice fixings inside, was only about $32,000, maybe $35,000 if you added like everything and all the accessories. But a solidly optioned Tacoma was really in that $25,000 to $32,000 price point. And at that price, the Tacoma has always just been a really great value. Now, let's come back to 2024. We just got prices for the all-new 2025 Tacoma, and I am about to say something I never thought would ever pass through my lips, and that is $65,000 Tacoma. Yeah, let that sink in a minute. That also means that a fully loaded Tacoma today costs almost $10,000 more than what I paid for my 2024 Runner TRD Pro and $1,000 more than I paid for my 2023 Lexus GX 460. Why is a Tacoma more expensive than my absolutely amazing V8 Lexus GX? I don't even know. Now, granted, this new hybrid Tacoma TRD Pro has infinitely more in it than my $25,000 Tacoma SR5 Pre-Runner, but still, $65,000 for a Tacoma, that's just completely out of hand. And like, the thing is, I know people buy trucks to use as their personal vehicles, which I always thought was kind of dumb, even when I did it. But the thing about buying a work truck as your personal vehicle and using it the same way that you would use any other crossover or SUV or sedan is the Tacoma is, at the end of the day, it is a work truck. Okay, so what that means is you're buying that car knowing that you're going to have all the downsides that come along with a work truck. And those are things like hard, cheap plastics inside. The interiors just don't feel nearly as nice as a nice crossover or a sedan or even a comparable SUV for that matter. And then with a truck, you also will always have, because of physics, you'll always have kind of a bouncy, jouncy ride that feels a little bit unbalanced because for people who don't actually use the truck to carry and haul things, the bed in the back of the truck is always empty, and that creates a weight imbalance in the car because the people and the engine and everything that's the majority of that car is sitting over the front 50% of the chassis. And so the back is kind of just hanging out there doing whatever it wants. And of course, these trucks are rear wheel drive. The front wheels can kick in certain instances, but still, for the most part, it's going to be a rear wheel drive truck, especially in the case of that TRD Pro Tacoma, which is part-time four-wheel drive. And so all that being taken into account, I just don't understand how this is worth $65,000. And when we run this through my usual total cost to purchase calculation, I mean, we are in the low 70s. We're not even approaching 70. We are there for a Tacoma. And again, this is also more than what I paid for my GX with this same calculation. It's just insane. And so you can also imagine what this means for the new 4Runner. And this is really why I've been interested to see what the pricing was going to be on these Tacomas, because 4Runners have always been just about 5 to 10% more than a comparably spec'd Tacoma. So with these prices, what we can pretty safely assume is that a 4Runner TRD Pro will easily be about $70,000 and probably pushing $75,000 to $80,000 out the door. And that's another term that I just can't even bring myself to, I can't even comprehend. The fact that a 4Runner in certain places with accessories, with, aftermarket off-road gear that you may add on to your 4Runner could hit 80,000. That is just absolutely insane. Like, I don't understand where these price increases are coming from when in 2023, Lexus was able to manufacture my GX 460 for $64,500. And on that note, I've gotten a lot of comments in the past from the armchair economists, meaning those of you who got your financial and business background on Reddit instead of at Harvard Business School, saying that, oh, well, this is typical and you don't know what you're talking about. And any new car, of course, it's going to be 20 to 25% more expensive. And I understand the supply chain and blah, 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 blah. And yes, that can be true in certain cases, in certain market conditions with certain products. However, here's the interesting thing with Toyota and the pricing on this new Tacoma. Earlier this week, we also got pricing on the brand new 2025 Toyota Camry, and it has barely changed. And the Camry, like the Tacoma, has just gone through a pretty significant generational change. And when I say it's barely changed, I mean that the increases we're seeing are less than $1,000. And in fact, the 2025 LE Hybrid is actually cheaper with more things in it than the 2024 LE Hybrid was. And again, the Camry has gone through a pretty significant change where everything from the sheet metal to the interior to the technology and the computer systems and all the wiring has changed for 2025. And so for all those of you out there who say, well, any new car is going to be 20 to 25% more expensive, look at that new Camry. It has not changed that much. And maybe that's because Toyota is milking profit from its trucks. And so it's using that to offset the Camry, but still, it means that Toyota does not have to increase prices significantly year over year or generation over generation just to keep the business running. And so this has been my problem with Toyota as of late, where we're seeing these disproportionate increases in price in the cars that they know people will pay through the nose to buy, while the cars that are more appliance-like and just for the average driver out there are getting all the same improvements for barely any increase in price like that Camry. And here's the thing right now, okay? We are at a precarious point in our history where the cost just to exist in this world today is astronomical. I mean, the average American in average health needs well over $1 million to retire comfortably and maintain their same quality of life and be able to pay for any medical care that they may need. And so I don't care how rich or poor you are. I don't care how much money you have in the bank. $70,000 for a Tacoma is never ever going to be money well spent, in my opinion. Like, if you have the cash to spend $70,000 on any of these new Toyota trucks, I think you'd be much better served investing that in real estate or on a high yield savings account. And if you don't have the cash and you are having to finance this new vehicle, go buy a 2023 Tacoma. You'll get the amazing V6 and a much cheaper car. Go buy a 2023 GX and you'll get the amazing V8. And on either one of those, you'll save yourself about $10,000 to $15,000 in debt versus spending $70,000 on this new Tacoma. And going back to the beginning of this video, this is just laughable to me as a millennial who bought a brand new Tacoma back in 2014 for $25,000, that there are now people out there who will probably pay $50,000 more than that for one of these new Tacomas. And finally, really quickly, before I get off my soapbox, I really wish all these creators and these influencers would stop looking the other way at Toyota's bad behavior, because you can say that you love the car and you don't love the price. You can say that it's a great car that is not worth the price. Like, those two sentiments don't have to be mutually exclusive. It's like my Rolex. I'm not going to go out there and insult anyone's intelligence and say, oh, this is absolutely worth $11,000 and here's 5 reasons that you should buy it, the way that some of these Toyota hype boys do. You gotta take what they say with a grain of salt, just because their whole livelihood, by and large, depends on keeping Toyota in their good graces. I am not in any graces with Toyota, so I can say whatever I want. So anyway, rant over. Thank you guys so much for listening and for watching another video. I always appreciate it. Questions and comments, you can leave them either downstairs or you can write me here at the email that you see on screen. I love hearing from you guys. And come back next week Friday, because we'll be talking even more about my car history in a really fun video that I had so much fun making for you guys called My Life in Die-Cast Cars. So I will see you then. Have a great weekend and take care.